Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, inside a tent buried in snow, hearing something outside so terrifying, so sudden, that your only choice is to slash the tent open from the inside and run into the freezing darkness. No jackets, no boots, no supplies. Now imagine the temperature outside is colder than minus 30 degrees Celsius. Within minutes, your body begins shutting down. This is not a horror movie. This really happened. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. When rescuers finally found them, the scene made absolutely no sense. Some were frozen barefoot in the snow. Some had horror. The story begins in January 1959 in the Soviet Union. A group of university students and experienced hikers prepared for an ambitious winter expedition across the northern Ural Mountains. Their leader was a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. He was highly respected, disciplined, and experienced in survival hiking. The expedition itself was considered extremely difficult. In Soviet hiking classifications, this route was ranked Category 3, the highest difficulty level at the time, meaning only elite hikers could complete it. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, all young, energetic, and highly trained. They carried cameras, journals, food supplies, skis, and heavy winter equipment. Before leaving, the hikers joked, laughed, and took photographs together. Looking at those pictures today feels disturbing, because these were some of the last moments they would ever experience alive. As the journey began, one member named Yuri Yudin started feeling sick. He suffered from health problems and severe joint pain. Unable to continue through the brutal terrain, he turned back and returned home. That decision accidentally saved his life. The remaining 9 hikers continued deeper into the mountains, unaware they were heading toward disaster. As the hikers traveled farther north, conditions became increasingly dangerous. The snow became heavier, the winds became violent, visibility dropped dramatically. Still, the group kept moving. According to recovered journals and cameras, the hikers remained optimistic and calm. They sang songs, wrote jokes in their diaries, and documented the trip carefully. But on February 1st, 1959, something went terribly wrong. That day, the group reached the slopes of a mountain known by the local Mansi people as Kholat Sail. Its translation is chilling. Mountain of the Dead. Bad weather caused the hikers to lose their planned route. Instead of moving into a safer forest area for shelter, they decided to camp directly on the exposed mountain slope. That choice may have changed everything. The group set up their tent on the snowy hillside as darkness approached, and sometime during that night, chaos erupted.
Weeks passed without communication from the hikers. At first, nobody panicked. Experienced expeditions were often delayed because of weather. But eventually, families became worried, and rescue teams were sent into the mountains. On February 26th, searchers finally discovered the group's tent. What they found shocked everyone. The tent was half covered in snow. But the strangest part was this: the fabric had been cut open from the inside, not outside. Inside the tent were the hikers' belongings. Their boots were still there. Their coats were still there. Food, cameras, supplies, untouched. It looked as though the hikers had escaped in extreme panic, leaving behind everything necessary for survival. Investigators followed footprints leading away from the tent. The prints showed several hikers walking, and some running, toward a forest nearly a mile away. And many of those footprints were barefoot. Others were only socks. Imagine how terrifying something must be to make trained survival experts run half naked into a deadly blizzard.
The first two bodies were found beneath a giant cedar tree near the forest line. The men were wearing almost no clothing. Their hands were badly damaged, suggesting they had desperately climbed the tree, possibly trying to see something in the distance. Nearby were remains of a small fire. It seemed they had tried to survive, but froze to death. A few hundred meters away, rescuers found Igor Dyatlov himself. His body position suggested he was trying to crawl back toward the tent before collapsing in the snow. Two more bodies were discovered nearby in similar positions. But the final 4 hikers were missing for months. When spring arrived and snow began melting, rescuers discovered them buried deep inside a ravine. And this is where the mystery became terrifying. Some victims had catastrophic internal injuries: broken ribs, crushed chests, severe skull fractures. Yet strangely, there were almost no external wounds. One investigator compared the force of the injuries to a high-speed car crash. But there was no car, no weapons, no evidence of another group attacking them. Then came the most disturbing details. One woman, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue. Some bodies were missing eyes, and traces of radiation were reportedly detected on certain pieces of clothing. The Soviet investigation quickly became secretive. Files were sealed, information disappeared, and rumors exploded across the country. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the darkest mysteries in modern history. 9 people entered the frozen mountains. 9 people died under horrifying and unexplained circumstances. And despite investigations, scientific studies, and endless theories, the full truth may never be known. Maybe it was an avalanche. Maybe it was a military secret hidden by the Soviet government. Or maybe the hikers saw something that night. Something so terrifying, they chose to run into certain death rather than stay inside that tent. And somewhere beneath the freezing winds of the Ural Mountains, the mountain is still keeping its secret.